Jim and Terry Show, podcasting from the Hobbit Hole studio in Bobcaygeon. I'm one of your hosts, Terry.
And I'm the other one, Jim.
And Jim likes the groove of this easy, loose, jangly guitar strumming. We're going to talk about a continuation of last podcast, which was size. Does size matter? And rally size. And Polyev claiming he's getting great size crowds. But I'm wondering, in terms of size, we have a Lyin King. Lyin apostrophe, Lyin King. And that works on so many levels, and you got them all. That's a dad joke. I don't know if the younger generation will get that. Okay, so talking about the Lyin King is talking about the distortion and fabrication of truth. Pretzel logic is another way of understanding these things, when people twist themselves into knots to try to justify something but we heard with our ears. We saw with our eyes. We saw the video. You're on camera. You're recorded. No, it wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Let's talk about the little blonde. What's her
Okay,
name?
this is Caroline.
Yeah.
I think it's Leavitt, but it could be Levitt.
Levitt, I think it is.
The white, blonde White House spokesperson.
Yes.
Okay.
She said, basically insulting anybody who is confused about what's going on. I can't believe you couldn't recognize the art of the deal. You just don't get it. You don't get it. You just don't get it. And all of these people,
making everybody like us feel stupid because
stupid.
I didn't get it.
Why are you listening to your logic? Why are you watching the stocks go down? Just trust the president.
Stop watching.
You just don't get the art of the deal. I will remind people again that I don't even think Trump really wrote that book.
No, he didn't.
He had a ghostwriter.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you know what, guys? Don't be insulting everybody else. Be a little bit more comforting. You can say, trust me. I don't care if you do that.
There is a shortage.
But don't say you're an idiot because you're not getting into Donald Trump's head like I happen to be in.
Well, there's two things that go with that. One is lack of empathy for anyone but the White House and the staff and the Republicans. And the other thing is the condescension, which is, you're so stupid. Yeah. Everybody's stupid. Yeah. How many times did Trump said, I know more than my generals?
Think about it. This is the guy you're talking about. Knows more than his generals. He knows more than the people that know money. You know that?
Yeah, financiers.
The finance advisors and everybody knows more than them.
Yeah.
He's picked a guy who's getting advice from an acronym of his name.
Yes.
The guy doesn't exist.
Yes, this is if you haven't...
Navarro.
Ron Vera, I think, is Peter Navarro's pseudonym. His nom de plume, where he used the anagram of his name, Navarro. Yeah. And that's the source he quoted to justify his policies. He quoted himself.
Yeah. So I am the expert of this and trust Trump. He's
now,
the smartest man.
Just to remind our listeners.
Oh, Trump's been bankrupt 6 times? Jeez.
Bankrupt 4 casinos? How do you do that? But to remind our audience that, you live long enough, you learn a few things. And we are not the stupid people that Trump thinks we are. So back in Trump 1.0, we had Navarro meeting as Trump's financial advisor then in, I'm not going to say it's Quebec City, but in the province of Quebec. I don't know where it was hosted, the G7. Trump left. There was no agreement. They always have a final statement that they all agreed. Trump left in a hurry, went to the UK or something, or Paris. Trudeau read a statement that Trump had not vetted. Navarro said on the airplane, as soon as they heard it, there's a special place in hell for the likes of Trudeau.
Yeah, this is what we're dealing with.
Do we forget all this stuff?
Well, do we forget that he's a convicted felon?
I think we do.
Do we forget that he orchestrated a riot in Washington to overthrow the government? Do we forget that?
Yes.
Yes, we do. And he knows it. One thing about Trump's smartness in his mind, he knows that it don't matter.
The Fifth Avenue shooting.
Forget it as long as he can keep shooting his mouth off and flooding the airways with him.
Flooding the zone.
You're going to forget. There's too much to remember. And he just keeps doing it and doing it and doing it. Same as we're going to forget the day that he put tariffs on the entire world.
No, we're not going to forget that.
Well, you and I aren't, but
Okay.
the people are.
Well, I do have a circle of people who believe that and support Trump. But I for the life of me, they justify it this way. Those trials in New York City was rigged. That the jury of his peers was pre-selected Democrats. That the judge was a biased Democrat donor. That none of those convictions should have been leveled at him. The charges should never have been made. It's all rigged. And
There was no evidence.
And this is from
no evidence.
This is from Christians who
Yeah,
are
I
telling
know.
me Trump is not guilty. The real guilt is the Biden crime family. They're the ones. Wait till you see the barges full of Democrats and actors and Tom Hanks going off to Guantanamo Bay.
The crime family. Jeez,
Yes.
you got a mob boss as your president, you silly. What's the matter with you?
How do you get through to people like that?
You
though?
don't. This is why I try not to argue. I try not to fight. The other day, someone was talking to me. I just stayed silent. I'm tired, Terry. I'm tired.
Yeah,
I'm not going
I
to
hear
convince
you.
anybody of anything. You're listening to what you're listening to. I want to hear a little bit more from Poilievre. I just, by nature, don't like the guy.
Yeah.
It's just. So I got to cut him some slack. So I got to start listening to hear what he's got to say. I liked what Carney said about the homes being built like they did after the Second World War. Modest homes that everybody could afford. They did that on purpose, and those homes are still standing. The reason they fall is people buy the property and put up a mansion. That's fine. That's okay. I'm okay with that. But those homes still exist.
The idea of a
I
starter
was
home.
raised in an army home.
Yeah.
And it was my bungalow where my family was, my parents raised the family. And there it was. It stood until we moved. And it's still there to this day, quite frankly, amongst great big mansions around it. But it's still there, worth a lot of money to somebody.
We've talked about this before. Is there an expectation gap? In other words, kids coming out are expecting a ton more than you or I in our generation expected?
Well, it's funny because I had three sons for a while in construction. And they'd build the big mansions in Rosedale and that, the great big 25,000 square foot homes. And I remember one of my sons saying, "Why do you need a bedroom the size of our house?" Why on earth? He was appalled by it. That son lives in a pretty big house right now, but I'll say the same thing. Why do you need a gigantic basement you're not using? Why do you need this? Why do you need that? You don't. And why do you need to be 12 feet away from the people over there? Now, I can understand if you're a mover and a shaker and you're having cocktail parties all the time and you want people to party off into different areas, I can see it. But if you're a common Joe, I don't need to be 6 feet away from you, Terry. We got lots of personal space right here. And what are we, 4 feet away from each other? You don't need more than that. You don't need a bedroom where you got this great big thing to dress in. What the hell?
So-
You're just putting your pants on.
Expectations. I mean, it's something we can discuss because I think there is an expectation gap is what I'll call it. I never expected to be in a home before maybe my 40th birthday. The reason is most of those years up into my mid-20s, I was in school. After that, I was raising a family in an apartment. First one child in an apartment, then two children in an apartment. Only by the time we had our third were we able to rent a home. And that was only through grace and not through me earning anything more. I was still working several jobs, fresh out of my last education stint, and just becoming a teacher. The salary was really low, and I couldn't afford the rent. So I was assisted. Expectations, I didn't have any. What life unfolded is better than I could have dreamed.
Me too. Like, here you are,
Amen, brother. Preach it.
Yeah, sir.
The expectation gap, let's close it up. Maybe Carney's got a modular solution to it. I don't know about Pierre Poilievre. Maybe he does too.
Maybe. Yep.
Stay open. Listen. Pay attention. Bye-bye for now.
Driving